Good afternoon, everybody. Todd Crandall from Racing for Recovery here with another podcast, and I welcome Julie and Bill Brinkman to the show. Can we call this a show?
Sure.
Sure, it's
Yeah.
a show.
Yeah,
Sure.
right. Julie, I borrowed your Guns N' Roses shirt. And hope you don't mind me wearing that,
Just
right?
wash it first.
Right. So how does it feel to be our backup whistler to start our meetings?
Oh, it's so much stress, Todd. I practice, but only every now and then I can get it done right.
That's funny. Well, we talked a little bit about this off camera, and I told you to stop because I was going to use it for this. So how did you find Racing for Recovery? Because
So,
evidently I don't remember this
you
story.
don't, and it was a long time ago. It has to be, I don't know, sometimes after 2002, but I don't know what year exactly. You were a patient where I work. And I remember going out in the waiting room, and we kind of always do a little quick assessment, like, is this person going to need help? Do I need to tell them to take their jewelry out? Get some sort of thoughts before you bring the patient back. So I go get you, and you have all these tattoos. You still had all your earrings, and I'm thinking, what's this guy's story? So we bring you back, and I always ask my patients something about themselves so they relax a little bit. And, so I said, what do you do? And so you told me. And I'm not sure how far you were in the whole process, but you told me you had been a former addict and you were doing triathlons. And I think that you said, you were trying to start this program, or you had started it and you were helping people with addiction. And then, okay, that's the end of it. I didn't need those services. Joe was in grade school at the time. And then later, when it became apparent that we needed that was kind of in the back of my mind. But then Joe was in a different program, and he was going to AA in the church upstairs, and we were in the basement going to Al-Anon. And there was a sign on the wall, and it said, "Racing for Recovery people, please start putting your chairs away." And I thought, Racing for Recovery. And then I started looking it up, and then that's how, we started saying to Joe, maybe you should check out this program, because obviously what he was doing wasn't working. And we just thought, maybe this will be something different. And then the rest is history.
Wow. I don't recall that. I'm trying to think of the surgeries I've had, my shoulders, knee.
And Todd said I could say that, so this is not a
Yeah,
HIPAA
it's not a
violation.
HIPAA violation. I'm gonna
You said I
report
could say it.
myself. Right. Reporting myself.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was either. I just remember talking to you. I can tell you what bed you were in. But
It's interesting because I don't recall it, but I will say this: my whole life revolves around this, as most people know. And I know some other programs, they talk about, well, you got to be anonymous and not say anything. And I've always thought, no, I'm going to speak, because how else is somebody going to learn about this?
right.
Whether it's immediately or they come back in 5 years or what have you. So with respect to the whole family unit, when did you learn about Racing for Recovery that was applicable for you guys as a family and not just for Joe?
When we started researching it for Joe, you
And
started
we
coming.
Yep. We started coming, and then I just started coming because I didn't know what to do, wanted to figure out what I should do. So I just started coming. And one of the things that I learned when I came here, and I was sitting next to Bruce, and one day Bruce said to somebody, "Just get him to come in, we'll take care of the rest." And I said, all right, I get that message. So I kept coming, and I learned a lot from not only from the parents that came and individuals, but also from the people that were in addiction as well. I learned so much that it taught us what we could and could not do. So that was a real learning experience for us.
And then we were trying to find a program for Joe, and I called Dan and said, do you do self-pay? Because at that point, at first you were down at the Zeph Center, I think, and you had to be on Medicaid.
Correct.
And then you said you're going to start taking insurance. So I called Dan, and he said they didn't take our insurance. So I said, or Joe's insurance. I said, do you do self-pay? Can I somehow get him in here? And then before we could get him in, he went out and got all crazy. And that's when I was calling Dan saying, what should I do? That Easter Sunday, I don't know if you remember, you texted me, Dan texted us. And it was you specifically. You said, what is he doing now? And I said, oh, he won't do whatever. And He said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm leaving. And you wrote back, you're learning. And I thought, all right, message received. And that's when I think everything changed for us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we have to, just like when I interviewed Joe, you guys were in my old office.
Right.
And so I do want to ask you this, because I don't know what this is like, and I hope I never do. What is it like to have a child that is self-destructing with alcohol as a parent? What was that like for you guys?
Horrifying. I mean, and nothing we said would get through. I mean, you don't know what to do. And in fact, I have a friend kind of going through it now, and I said to her, listen, everything you think you should do is wrong. You know, it's wrong. And it's horrifying because you don't know what to do. But coming here
Right.
helped us.
Because you want to help them, but then you don't want to help them. You know, as they say, they've got to find their own way. We can't make it easy for them. We can't make it, life easy. They've got to suffer the consequences, I guess, is a better way to put it.
Every way that you're trying to help is making it worse.
Yes.
I'll bring you food. I'll give you money. It's just making it all worse.
As a parent, it contradicts everything that we're supposed to do.
Right.
Yes.
We're taught, if your son falls and breaks his arm, you take him to the hospital, they put a cast on it, it heals, and they go back out. And as you said, Julie, this is the exact opposite. It throws that parenting manual out the door.
Right.
And that has to be one of the hardest things to do.
Well, and you feel like you can never relax because you just don't know what's coming next. It's like we felt like we couldn't go out of town because he might die. Not that, how am I going to keep him from not dying? I don't know, but I felt like I had to be here. It was like you just could never.
You didn't want to be too far away in case you needed to do whatever.
So how has, whether it was in my old office or coming into Racing for Recovery, can you highlight some things that have really been a powerful message to you that has helped?
For me, a lot of what the people in addiction say are the things that have hit me the hardest. Like, I know one time somebody, I forgot what I was going to say, but they're the ones that have influenced me the most. I know one said, you think you want to give your child money for their rent or whatever. He said, but that could be the $100 they kill themselves with.
That was very powerful.
Yeah. And things that you think, and they were saying, like, don't give me food. Don't even give me a can of food. I can sell that for drugs. And it was, those things never occurred to me before. It was like, I never handed Joe $400 and said, go drinking, but other things we were doing were enabling it, which wasn't something that occurred to us. And then coming here gave me hope because I could see Joe changing and making friends, or he'd say, I have this problem, here's what I'm going to do, which was completely different. Or something bad happened, I said, what'd you do? I went and talked to AJ. I went to come back here and get the help he needed, like people to talk to. That was life-changing for us to know that he finally had someone he could turn to, because he used to say, nobody ever gets sober. And I said, yeah, people do. No, they don't. You don't understand. And I said, do you think Todd Crandall's lying to you? No, not Todd, but everybody else. So you were always.
That's funny.
So that, though, was the thing I think that helped him change, was that he believed that you could help him,
Bill, do you want to add anything to that?
No, that's fine. I mean, that was, I think, what we learned here helped us to not enable Joe. And I think that was a real turning point, because before we were trying to, do our parenting thing. And like Julie said, everything was wrong because you were trying to help them and you needed to let them, deal with the consequences of what they were doing.
I think, again, it's one of the things that I'm very proud of with Racing for Recovery is our format of having family members and people who are battling this in the same environment. Because I always, when I'm hearing a family member talk, and I'm doing it even with you guys right now, the separation, if you guys are sitting in a basement and we're upstairs, there's no mutual understanding of what the other
Exactly.
side has gone through, what my choices of drinking and drugging were doing to the people I cared about. I couldn't learn that. It's just, well, send your son to wherever, but there's no understanding of how this even took place and how to effectively help him get out of it.
I know in an early meeting that, when Joe was early in sobriety, came to a meeting, and I think it was Sonny asked everybody, how do you guys even get up and take a shower? How do you get to brush your teeth? And people started saying, well, early in recovery, I had to make a list. And it was like, I never thought of anything like that physically, even for months, you were still going through things. It was like your head's clear, move on, and I never thought of any of those things. When I hear those people saying things, it was like, I hadn't considered that.
I ran an IOP group today talking about this subject of how society has this notion that if you have a drug or alcohol problem, you go away and it's usually 30 days. There's always a number on it. 30 days, we'll send our kid away for 30 days and they're going to come home and everything's okay.
Right.
And I was like, that's not even scratching the surface of what this is. 30 days to fix this. It's like,
No.
No.
I think Joe's insurance gave him 17 visits. Like, whoa, that's it. You're done. You're fixed.
Yeah, it's one less than the traditional 18 for things,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
if people, and that's part of what Racing for Recovery is doing, if we can look at this differently, not only can we save finances on it, which is not on the forefront of my mind, but it's a byproduct of it. It's like, if we can prevent it from either occurring or really showing people how to sustain sobriety and being happy at that, you're going to reduce a lot of the recidivism that goes on in this, What's it like to have a sober son now?
It's great. Well, you just interviewed him. He's great. And the really nice thing is that our family takes we have somebody in Raleigh and Pittsburgh and Atlanta and here. So we meet every year for vacation, and it's great. Nobody drinks. It's a great vacation every year because there's nobody going off getting drunk, going to the bar. I'll meet you later or whatever. It's fun. Joe is funny. Our family, we play games. We get along. It's great. It's great. And I don't worry every time I don't see Joe or if he doesn't answer the phone immediately. I know he's all right.
Yes, that's the biggest thing is just the difference in his demeanor. Before he was always, to me anyway, it seemed like he was angry at, if there was something was wrong, it was, wasn't his fault. It was somebody else's fault.
And his first response was anger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like, okay, this is my problem. This is the steps I'm going to take to fix it. And he takes care of it.
What do you think about him being in our new book, Choices and Consequences?
I think it's cool. I think it's good.
Do you see? Do you have a picture of somebody reading Joe's story and how it's going to impact them? Are you guys even thinking that way?
We talked about that a little bit just before we started, but yes, because I know when I read those other two books, they gave me hope. They made me say, look where this person was. And like, I have a couple friends going through this, but I'm like, your daughter isn't as bad as this. And this person is okay. Yeah. There's hope. She can be okay. So yeah. And I think I hope that book's, I'm sure it'll help people. I don't hope, I know.
I think when you guys are on our meetings on Thursday nights and Joe's sitting next to me, there's often times that I look at you guys and I'm like, I wonder what they're thinking of their kids sitting up here right now. I mean, tell parents what it's like to have him be on a more involved level with Racing for Recovery. What's that like?
You go.
Well, it's kind of funny because, excuse me, they always ask us, well, Joe works here, doesn't he? I say, no, but he's totally committed to this program, and he likes to. He wants to give back. That's kind of what I get, and that makes me proud that he wants to help somebody and not necessarily care if he ever gets a pat on the back or whatever, because he's gone through it and he knows what it's like. So, I like to see it because, he talks to people all the time about it. So I'm just proud that, he's able to give back.
Well, sometimes when there's new parents or parents that are really suffering and they feel, you can tell what they say in the meeting, they're not feeling hopeful. I'll say, that's my son up there sitting next to Todd. And he was where your child is.
That's profound. That's awesome.
I think, I do think so. I think anything's possible. It's all possible.
How do I want to ask this? Do you think he should be working here at some point?
Yes. He's 100% committed. He's very compassionate. Yes, I do. I think he's 100% committed to this. He talks about it all the time. He wears Racing for Recovery gear all the time. He, like when he started running last year, I always wore Racing for Recovery, always. Because I said, I couldn't find you, Joe. I didn't remember what you were wearing. He said, are you kidding me?
Same thing every race.
Yeah, my Racing for Recovery.
So maybe I should give him my seat then, like he was.
Well, maybe not ready for your seat, but move him up. Yeah.
I talked to Joe about this, and it's one of those things that is funny, and yet it's my favorite word, profound at the same token. I remember the first time he said that, I want to take your seat someday. And I'm like, go ahead. There'd be nothing that would make me more proud than to have somebody that came into this and is now running the proverbial show. I mean,
I was pretty stunned when he said that. That was pretty early.
It was really early.
And I thought, what the hell is he doing? Why did he say that?
And to me, that's a sign of there's self-esteem in there. And I use that a lot because people that come in here they don't have self-worth, or they wouldn't be drinking to the level that they're drinking or drugging or what have you. And he did say that very early on. And to me, it showed there's something in this kid.
Well, I knew this time when he got sober, it was different because we brought him home and let him detox. I said, and what is your plan? And he goes, I'm going to Racing for Recovery. And I said, and? He said, I'm just going to Racing for Recovery. And I thought, this time he's going to make it. I knew it because he didn't say, I'm going to do this for 6 weeks and then I'm going to, I'm just going to Racing for Recovery. And
it's worked.
It's worked.
Do you guys have, I forgot to ask Joe this, but are there any questions you want to ask me about why we do what we do, or suggestions, or?
I think we know why you do.
I think we've been around long enough to know that what you do here helps people. And,
saves people.
Well, but they have to help themselves
Right.
first.
Right.
And I think, there's a lot of people that say, 30 days, I'm good. I only got another week. It's a lifelong process, just like anything. If you want to get, if you want to be the best person you can be, it's a lifelong process.
And I don't ever feel like Racing for Recovery is in it for the money, because I know when you guys talked to us, you had no idea if Joe was ever coming here. And I know people say that all the time. I didn't know what to do, but I talked to Dan for so long, or I talked to Rachel, or, and they guided me. And I know you do it because it's a mission.
True. It's one of the reasons why we don't pass the proverbial hat and collect money at our meetings. I started this simply to give back in some capacity and hopefully help somebody. And now that it is turned into a business, if you will, since we've been out here since 2016, I understand there's a business side of it, but that comes second. Mm-hmm. It's care first. And I'm proud of the fact when somebody calls us, one of the first questions is not, well, what kind of insurance do you have? It's, what do you need and how do we help you do that? Mm-hmm. And then, okay, we'll figure out whatever the economic thing is. And I'm proud of that. And I never want to lose that culture, because I think let's face it, there's a lot of people that have jumped on the opioid epidemic because they see money on it. And we've been doing this since 2001. So it doesn't matter what drug is the current latest, greatest thing to kill yourself with. We want to provide that care and have people live in peace. And that's a good thing.
I think you are.
Last question for you guys. What do you say to parents that are out there that are going through this?
I always tell people, come here. And if you won't come here, watch the meetings. But I said, so much better if you come, because you got the feel by stuff. But You're going to hear things that you hadn't thought of. There's other, like a lot of times, like the parents will talk. And I remember talking to Penny and I forgot her husband's name real quick.
Bob.
Bob. And I remember Bob saying, did you ever think you'd be in this position? And we said, no. But just talking with other parents, it was like, this is support group for people with addictions, but it's also for the rest of us, for the families. And a lot of times the families are just, will talk and people will help you see things and you can learn so much. And it won't cost you anything more than your time. Just come to the meetings. They're free. Right. It's just your time.
What's it like to have the comfort of other like-minded parents that are going through this? What's that like?
I think it's...
That's wonderful because you know that they're going through the same thing, or they are going through what we went through. And there are some people that have, helped us when we first started coming, just to learn what to do, what not to do.
Plus, we felt all alone too.
Yeah.
We felt like, okay, nobody else we know is going through this, and really they are. They're not talking about it. That's why we talk about it to everybody, because there's so many people going through it.
Yeah, when you feel like when you're in the midst of it, you don't necessarily want to broadcast to the world, just because that's the frame of mind you're in.
But you should.
But you should. You're right.
Because
now if somebody asks, we talk about it, and hopefully we provide them with, there's hope out there. I can't guarantee that your son or daughter will make it. It's up to them, but there's hope out there. If they do the program, go through the program, do what they're supposed to do, life is unlimited at that point.
I thank you both for not only doing this, but I thank you both for being an example of eradicating the stigma of addiction. As you were talking, I'm like, this is another perfect example of our slogan, with sobriety, anything is possible. Right. Not only for Joe as this person battling this, for families as well.
Right.
People heal, families recover, and life is good. So I thank you both for doing this today.
Oh, you're welcome.
We're helping. We tell everybody, so we're happy to do it here.
Until next time, everybody, check out our website, racingforrecovery.org, and join us for Monday nights and Thursday night live stream free support group meetings. Have a good day.